Welcome back to the Deep Cover Podcast, continuing this Dynasty Flyer series. This time we're hitting wide receivers. There is a need for wide receiver in the league. And while this is a good wide receiver draft class and a good free agency class, I still think there's some diamonds in the rough that we're going to try to hit on today as guys that could potentially offer some value in 2022. First guy on the list for me is Antoine Wesley with the Arizona Cardinals. He's a guy that flashed late in the season, showed he could win down the field at the catch point, showed he can win in the red zone, scored some touchdowns late. And when you look at their situation, you got AJ Green and Christian Kirk as restricted free agents. So Antoine Wesley is a guy that could see a larger role in 2022. So like taking a flyer on him. Another guy, speaking of catch point winners, draft Twitter stand up, Arden Tate, unrestricted free agent. He was behind maybe the best three receiver set in the league in Cincinnati. Now he has a chance to go out and potentially compete elsewhere. Looking at a specific situation, the Atlanta Falcons, they desperately need some talent at the wide receiver position, and they aren't flush with cash at all. So not a lot of flexibility there. I could see Arden Tate coming there and right away being the number two receiver there, playing on the boundary and three wide receiver sets. Maybe even more if a guy like Calvin Ridley, if they move on from him, there's a possibility there. So um, this always takes one team to see something in the guy, and Alden Tate is a guy that I could see teams giving a shot. So I think he's a worthwhile flyer. Another guy I like, near and dear to my heart, have a soft spot for is Keelan Cole. I think he's a guy that can win in a lot of different alignments. Not the biggest guy, not the fastest guy, but if he lands in the right situation with a good quarterback, I think he's a guy that can make some hay in three wide receiver sets and offer some low end value. So, another guy, if you have the room for, go out and snatch up and see what happens. Another player on this list, Isaiah Mckenzie. Last couple years, he's made some plays and scheme touch opportunities for the Buffalo Bills. And looking at their situation, Cole Beasley, they could save $6 million by releasing him. And they're a team that's not flush with cash either. They just gave Josh Allen that extension, and they're going to have to make some financial decisions going forward. So McKenzie and Beasley, this is not an apples to apples comparison. They're different players. They just play in the same spot in the slot. But if you can bring a McKenzie back at 1/3 or 1/4 of the cost, and you think he can be a reasonable enough facsimile, that's a situation that could bear some fruit for you if you're willing to take a flyer on him. Also, he's an unrestricted free agent in his own right, so another team could see what he's done the last couple of years with the Bills and think that he could do more, and maybe offer him a role to do a little bit more as the primary slot receiver elsewhere. So uh, just an interesting spot to look at, to be open minded to. And then last few I'm gonna hit on. This is the same um, situation, but different ends of the spectrum with that Tampa Bay situation. Antonio Brown, he wild out and left. Chris Godwin went down late with an injury, and throughout that year, with different guys going down, um, talented wide receivers, young receivers in that room, but these guys, none of them really stood up and really took the reins of that wide receiver three position there. So I think that's going to be a wide open situation. And you got two guys on a young end, Jaylen Darton. They drafted him in the fourth round last year, traded up to draft him in the fourth round last year. He ended up being just a return guy all year, but he's a guy that kind of fits the mold of what Bruce Arians has looked for in the past. Undersized speedsters, a guy that can stretch the field, guy that can stretch the seam from the slot. So he's a guy that was very productive in college. I could see him making that second year jump. Another guy on the veteran end, John Brown. Pour one out for my best ball team, so I drafted him late, assuming that somebody was going to pick him up. It just never came to fruition. until late in the year. Tampa Bay picked him up, put him on a practice squad. I think that was more of a 2022 move than a 2021 move. Kind of see what he had left in the tank. And obviously he had his best year with Bruce Arians in Arizona. He knows him well, knows what he brings to the table. So he's a guy that I could see factoring into that wide receiver 3 role for Tampa Bay in 2022. So all guys that you should keep an eye on. If you have the room, pick these guys up. And again, you could unearth a diamond in the rough here in February by just being open-minded. So I'll be back with more flyers for you. Like, rate, subscribe, and I'll see you on the other side.